Joining me now to talk about this policy in general, Nationals MP Keith Pitt has been a proponent of this. I might start on a different tack though, Keith Pitt, because renewables in our system now are all about 35%. To get to net zero overall, is it fair to say we'll need a lot more renewables than 35% in the grid, and that would still happen under the coalition?
Well, Tom, I've always been a great proponent of building stuff that works. And what's been proven over and over and over is if you have an intermittent power supply, then you'll have an intermittent source of electricity which gives you intermittent use and causes a whole heap of problems. You can't run the country on part-time power. And if we're going to install nuclear generators across the country, then I'd expect they'd be run flat out 100% of the time, because that's what they're best at. And to be honest, mate, coal's exactly the same. If you want the lowest possible emissions from coal, those plants should be run at 100% capacity. You get much lower emissions per megawatt hour if they are fully loaded.
Okay, not quite sure I got an answer. Let me put it this way though. So coal, 7 power plants, the coalition wants to get up and running by the 2040s, so that gets out to net zero by 2050. When most experts look at this, they say 10, 12, maybe at the highest 15% of our overall power use. Gas is said to be a few percent as a priming sort of fuel, if you like. That leaves renewables to be what, 75, 80%?
I just don't think that's achievable or even practical because of all of the other problems that would cause in the network, whether it's about reliability, whether it's about system strength, voltage regulation, frequency control, all of the things that cause you a lot of grief. And then you would still have to build 28,000 kilometres of transmission, which is an enormous cost. So in reality, and we've seen this already, you'll have to extend it.
Point out that figure is not right. That figure is if we become an exporter. It's not 28,000, it's more like 10,000. So 28,000 is not right. I know you keep saying that. That figure from AEMO is if we become a major exporter as well as our own energy use.
Well, it's still tens of thousands of kilometres that don't exist. And you will have to extend the life of coal because, well, I think it's actually more than that. But right now, we've seen the New South Wales government, for example, put 400...
This is just worth clarifying. You keep saying 28. From that report, that's if we become an exporter. From that report, for just our own use, it's not tens, it's 10. So shouldn't you start saying that if we want to have a high-minded debate and we're not doing Blinky Bill and three-eyed, let's stick to the facts as well. It's 10,000, not 28,000.
Well, here's the facts, Tom. There isn't any. It's not built and it doesn't exist. So it takes an awfully long time to get that done. It needs an awful lot of land, a lot of resources, a lot of cost, all of which directly impact the price of electricity in this country and paid for by electricity consumers. But as I've said, we've already seen New South Wales extend coal because you have to. You'll need gas because you will absolutely have to have gas. And that's just the reality of where we're at.
Not expanded coal. So how much gas then? How much gas do you think we'll need in the year 2050 as part of our energy grid? So, you know, nuclear is what, about 15? What do you think we'll need in terms of gas?
Well, I haven't heard that 15 figure before. It depends on what size the units are at those 7 sites, how quickly they're built, what type are utilised, and at what capacity factor. So in terms of how much gas you need, well, comes back to, is it a peaker? How long do you want it to run for? Is it replacing something else? There's a lot of variables here, Tom, but in particular, the one that really matters, we've got to keep the lights on and we've got to keep power at an affordable price or manufacturing will just desert this country.
So I come back to my original question though. Renewables are at 35 right now. They'll go up, right? That's not just going to sit at 35%. The coalition's not going to scrap every major renewables project from now on, or are you? Is that what you'd like?
Well, I can't tell you what the policy is. I am not the shadow minister. I'm not in the shadow cabinet. I'm not setting policy. But from a practical viewpoint, you cannot run the country on part-time power. It's just not physically possible. So that means you do have to maintain your reliable
Right now, we're running the country on 35% renewables. It's not always part-time. It can be firmed. I know we've discussed that on this program before.
Well, once again, let's go to reality. In South Australia, it's held together by diesel generators and a connection to coal in Victoria. And if you look at other areas, batteries run for minutes. But they're incredibly expensive. And once again, that's just not going to happen. So the idea that you can power Melbourne from Cairns with intermittent supply because it might be windy up there and not in Melbourne, well, that's exactly like saying that you'll provide your water from Cairns to Melbourne in case you run out of dam water. No one believes that can happen. It's just ridiculous. So let's stick with what works. You've got an awful lot of capacity out there right now that needs to be utilised. One of the reasons in government, Tom, that we put the capacity investment scheme in place was to ensure reliability of the network, because it included coal and gas, and it meant that they would be there and available if there was a shortfall or it simply got dark, got cloudy, or the wind stopped blowing. But unfortunately, the current federal Labor government removed that. It's not included.